All right, folks, welcome to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast. I am Kevin Kelly. This is Stephen Twist Kearns. We are without our faithful Jimmy English this week. He is away on annual leave. So it'll just be the two of us talking this week. And we're just going to be talking about some of the week 14 games that are coming up. So moving into obviously Sunday 1 o'clock games or 6 o'clock for us. We have your Steelers are going to be playing against the Browns now. Obviously coming into Pittsburgh this week, obviously looking for a bit of redemption after that snow game on Thursday night. I mean, I personally don't see us going any other way than the Steelers absolutely rolling over the Browns this time. But again, weirder things have happened. Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston, and you can never predict what that man is going to do. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
If it snows, Winston's going to win. I don't know what it is. It's like his superpower. He loves the snow. Like he's like a child on Christmas.
He's never played in it before. It's his second game ever in the snow.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. His superpower. Like that's it. That's it. But realistically, like I think the Steelers should go out and beat the Browns. You know, the Browns are the Browns, as the infamous saying. They are at the bottom of the AFC North. They're not a good football team. They are lucky. I don't know what happened against the Broncos where Judy had 235 receiving yards. Like one receiver had 200. Like they just didn't play cornerbacks. That's not going to happen with the Steelers. Yeah, Joey Porter Jr. is going to get flagged like hell because that's his thing. George Pickens is going to get into a fight or two, possibly ejected, and Russell Wilson is going to drop some moonballs. And I'm hoping TJ Watt has now finally found his motor because he's been very quiet up until last week. And he's finally stepped up and reminded people who he is. So I'm hoping he gets things going, him and Herbig off the edge, cause chaos for Winston. If the Browns sweep us, we don't deserve to win in the playoffs. I'm just going to say it there and then.
Well, I think it's interesting to bring up Pickens there, and I kind of just have to ask the question: at what point does his antics and all of this carry on start to really affect the team? Because up to this point, you're able to ball out and you're able to play really solid defense, which is covering him in all of this antics that he is playing. And it's like, at what point does that now start to hinder the team and to have an actual effect outside of just him being George Pickens and acting the bollocks, really?
Well, the post-game press conference for the previous game, Tomlin, you could tell he was pissed with Pickens. He was just like, he's got to grow up, he's got to mature, he's got to realize he's a job to do.
Has this not been the conversation for weeks, for like years at this point now? It's like he's a wild card and you can't really trust him. I fear for the Steelers in the sense that it's like, if he does get just ejected from a game, if he gets suspended for any of this carry on, like, I know it would be unlikely, but it does kind of wonder, like, where do you go after Pickens if you don't have him to throw to? It's like, I don't necessarily trust your other wide receivers as much as I trust him.
I didn't at the start of the season, and Wilson has done something to Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson. He's made them into, Calvin Austin anyway, into not an elite receiver, but like on the bubble, like he's up there. And Van Jefferson like exists, like he's actually catching balls and he's making plays. But the issue with Pickens that I have is, I put it up on Twitter, he needs to go on the field, run the route, catch the ball and score, and keep his mouth shut and keep his hands to himself. Because it's great, like he catches the ball for 15, 20 yards and then does a stupid celebration that gets a 15-yard penalty, or he throws the ball into a player's face, or he throws a punch. So then, your big 20-yard play is 5 yards net after the penalty. Like, you got to get, as we get later in the season, I don't want to linger too long on the Steelers, but as we get later in the season, players have to realize that these stupid mistakes can cost you a game. Now, in the regular season, it's not going to have too much of an effect. It may cause you a seeding, may drop you down from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, but you're still going to be in the playoffs. In the playoffs, a flag like that can cost you the game. Like the Bengals, happened with the Bengals. What was his name? The guy who hit AB, I can't remember his name, and knocked him out. Juju knocked him out again. He knocked AB out and put the Steelers into field goal range, thinking that they won the game, knocked the Steelers out of the playoffs, and Boswell kicked the game winner and knocked them out. And that's a perfect example of keep your temper under control, do your job, and don't get flagged on stupid things.
I mean, look, I think the way you say it is like there's still a lot to play in the AFC North with you guys. Like obviously between yourselves and the Ravens now, there's only one game between you, and so a lot really kind of is in the balance there, and so you don't really want to see those kind of childish mistakes be the things that stop you from being the winners of the AFC North. Like how long is it? It's probably not been that long since he's won the AFC North,
2020
but
was the last time we won it.
well, there you go. So it
Yeah.
has been been a long time. So it would be nice for you guys just to get that kind of put that one to bed and then have a bit of a run in the. I mean, I'd like to see it. It has no implication for me, but I think just knowing you guys, I think I'd like to see it happen. But for me, I think it's gonna be a tight game again. But I do think just with how Tomlin has been this season, he's always the same. But I think there's just a bit more of a chip on his shoulder now that he has a team that's actually what looks like it's playing for him again.
Yeah, he's got
Um,
stability. He's got the guys who are listening. He's secured his another not losing season, so he's tied the record for the most winning seasons as a head coach. Um, so like he's got all that. Now he just needs to get the specter off his back, which is he can't win in the playoffs. Like the last he won Super Bowl 43 and he made an appearance against the Packers in the Super Bowl. He's won one, lost one, but he's never since then. He's like one and done in the playoffs. He needs to get that. He
that
needs to
monkey off his back, yeah, yeah.
exercise that demon. That's his next big thing.
Yeah, all right. So moving into a game that's going to be close to my heart. So we have the Falcons and Kirk Cousins. Kirk O'Chain's coming into US Bank. He's going to make his return this season. So just interested what you think first, and then I'll kind of get into how I see this one going.
I mean, it is Kirk. He's coming back. He left the team. He had this. Everyone had this like, I don't know, where it's mentality or like belief that yeah, Kirk is great as a quarterback. He's done so much for us, but he's not going to win us a Super Bowl. I think that was a lot of the mentality by some of the Vikings fans, like they felt like that. And when he moved on and went to Atlanta, and you guys got JJ McCarthy, and you've got the resurgence of Sam Darnold, got it right this time, and your defense is taking your offense has been stuttering. It's not been as explosive, but you're winning games. That's the important thing. Whether it's by a field goal or by a touchdown or by your defense, you're winning. Kirk has been making a lot of mistakes lately, and he hasn't been looking good. And I think I have a feeling like going into to face his old team, he's going to have this, I don't know, chip on his shoulder to try and win. But you also have to worry about, is the front office going right? When do we pull Kirk? Like if it's not looking like we're going to make the playoffs, if we're only like 3 or 4 games left in the season, do we bench him for the rest of the season if he drops against the Vikings?
That's a $40 million mistake, though. Like in the end of the
I'm
day,
not saying for good. I'm just saying for the last 3 or 4 games and like give the rookies a go.
but like I think it's kind of like you open that Pandora's box though, and you're kind of in a position where it's like if Michael Penix does play well enough, I think it's kind of like a situation in Minnesota now where it's like if Sam keeps playing the way he's playing, how do you not offer him a long-term contract? I'm asking myself that question, but I'm looking in Atlanta there, and I'm like, you bench Kirk, and then you put Michael Penix in, and he absolutely goes off. He brings you to NFC South championship, brings you to the playoffs, and maybe potentially wins a game. Like, do you put Kirk back in at that point? Like, I just don't think you do.
I think you kind of like you got to give Penix a look for a couple of the games of the season, purely just to see what he has. But you don't bench him like you're giving Kirk all that money. Like you don't bench him completely. You do even if it takes a year or two, you do the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers system. You leave Penix sitting there. He's on a rookie deal. He's not going anywhere. And yet like you build around the team for Penix to take the throne. From Kirk and go from there. But I think that you are right in the terms of like you don't really want to bench him just in case like it affects Kirk and it looks like the organization made a mistake. But at the same time, if Kirk goes and stinks it up and in front of his whole team, like what like, and because this NFC South is a terrible division, like you kind of got to pull the trigger and like try and make a run for it. And then you guys should handily beat them. And then as you like, we won't get too deep into it, but you'll have a big decision in the off season. You got a lot of players to sign. Sam Darnold, like Harrison Smith.
Harrison Smith, yeah.
Yeah, like who do you give the bag to? Like, do you say see you Sam and we'll ride JJ McCarthy? And that's a conversation for the off season. But yeah, how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of interesting points there. I'm definitely, if Kirk does continue on the trend that he's been on this last 2 weeks, I'm not too worried. But like, I think just if Bijan Robinson can start off the game well, I would be a little bit worried, because just the gaps in our defense against a strong run game have not been very kind of, like, I haven't got a lot of confidence in it recently. And so, like, with the likes of Kyler Murray last week, and then with the Bears, like, we did a good job of stuffing them, but I think it was like because we knew that they were mobile quarterbacks. Kirk is not a mobile quarterback. He's even less mobile than he's been ever in his career. So the way I see this one going is, and I think just the fact that Brian Flores had that year of seeing the behind the scenes of Kirk Cousins, he's gonna know, he's gonna have them tells that every quarterback has on what he needs to do before he needs to do it. So, I mean, look, you said it yourself. I think that the Vikings should win this game easily, but I've said that about the Jaguars. I've said that about the Bears. I've said that about the Titans. And look, we made those games as difficult as they could be. So I'm taking nothing for granted. Like, again, like you said, the offense has faltered and stuttered from game to game. Now, I think some of that does come down to just how much pressure is being put on Jefferson. And, obviously when not Kirk, but when Sam looks up and he looks down the field, his first read is always going to be Justin Jefferson, taking more time away from his second, third reads, i.e. Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. And so he has less time to throw the ball to them. Now, I think in the last couple of weeks, he's kind of started to open that up a little bit and start to look at JA a little bit quicker and look at TJ first. So I think, if he can do that earlier in a game and kind of unlock the offense a little earlier, then you kind of start to wonder, will the defense be able to keep up with covering Jordan Addison, covering TJ Hawkinson, as well as trying to double team or triple team JJ? Because if you just continuously try and go to JJ, they're going to do the same thing every time. They're just going to double him, and then they don't really have to worry so much about Addison and Hawkinson. So I think it really comes down to how quickly Sam can kind of unlock the offense. And, we've seen it last week against Arizona. It took him 2.5 quarters to get there. But, like you said, teams are like, they come across the line and they just about get the win. And you look at the Chiefs, they do the same thing. So the only thing is the Chiefs have 2 Super Bowls under their belts in the last 2 years. So,
Well,
no,
in
I
fairness,
do see that.
there's nothing wrong with Sam Darnold going out there and starting the game off dinking and dunking to Addison and TJ. Like, get those short yardage games, get those quick completions, get that rhythm going. That's going to cause the linebackers to cheat up into the box. And that's going to put the safeties on an island against the speed that Addison and JJ have. And I don't know whether it's a mental thing that, like you said, his first read is not Addison, Jets, and he just turns and kind of gets too focused on them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a phenomenal offensive line, that's no problem. Take those 1.5 seconds to really give Jets that chance. But, like, you kind of have to, for that to work, you kind of have to get, Aaron Jones running really well. And if you get him running really well, the play action, that's like JJ's bread and butter. He's wide open at that point.
Yeah.
So I think if Sam can do that, if you can get those offenses going early and often, even short gains, nothing wrong with thinking, like, everyone's like, oh, we want big bombs, we want big plays, stuff like that. I don't care what you want. I want my team to win. And if that involves dinking the ball 5-7 yards, 3-4 yards every play and getting those turns and grinding the clock out, go for it. Get that win.
It doesn't need to be a bomb every time. Yeah, you're right. enough talk about the NFC North anyway. We'll move on to a bigger kind of more contested conference at the minute, and that will be the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Now, obviously, the Cardinals coming off a loss last week against the Vikings. This one's going to be a really interesting one because you have two offenses who really have a lot of firepower, and especially within the division, like that's going to be a really really like hotly contested game.
It is. That's like if you're going to watch. What time is that at? That's one of the later games. You're going to watch like one of the later games.
9:05, yeah.
I tune into that because the Cardinals are obviously trying to build something. They recently extended James Conner, JC there on my wall. Hail to Pitt, former Pitt guy. He is. I'm still raging the Steelers let him go. He's a phenomenal running back. He's a phenomenal pass catcher. When he gets going, if they can get him going, as I said earlier and often previously, he can open the field up for Marvin Harrison Jr. to cause those big bomb plays. But when you look at it, you got someone like James Conner in the backfield, you got Marvin Harrison stretching the field, and then you're like, okay, we got these guys covered, and then you see little 5'9" or whatever he is, like coming out of the backfield, like at full speed, and the speed he can get up at.
Yeah, the rocket.
Like, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? Like, he broke out of the pocket and he waved at the defender because he knew
he was gone. Yeah, he was gone.
And he was in that end zone and celebrating. Like, Kyler Murray is, when he gets going, he is unbelievable. And then on the other side, Geno Smith, he's like, everyone knows, like, he can't be the replacement for Russell Wilson. Like, he can't be. And for do something, he's gone out and he's proved he can actually win games. He can win close games. He can win tight games. He can blow games out. He just has a bit of consistency issue at times. He can be hot and cold. But I think this one is going to be, if you're going to watch a late game, like the 9 o'clock game, this is going to be one to watch because this is going to have huge effects on the NFC as a whole.
Yeah.
Who comes out on top of this?
Well, the other 9 o'clock games are 9:25. Will be the 49ers and the Bears, which we mentioned that before we came on here. I think that's going to be an interesting game, just in the sense that it's two teams that are struggling. Well, obviously the 49ers have been struggling just in general all season, but the Bears now coming off a 6-game losing streak, losing their head coach to being fired after that Thanksgiving debacle. I can't even. It makes me mad to think about it. I was asking for a timeout.
We didn't get to talk about it because we didn't do the review. We're doing a preview. But Eberflus, I'm just going to say, standing on the sideline. Caleb Williams is still a rookie. Forget, he is still a rookie quarterback. This is his first season. As a head coach, it's your responsibility to take some of that pressure off. You should be watching that clock. Or somebody on your staff should be watching that clock because with time, he'll be the game manager. He'll turn around and right, I know how much time is on the clock. I know when to call a timeout and stuff like that. He's not focused on that. He's focused on trying to beat a division rival. He didn't. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't realize exactly how much time was running off the clock. That's the head coach, and he deserves.
I don't think there's any benefit there to be given. I really don't. I think for all around, because let's be honest, it wasn't Eberflus in his ear, right? It's not. Yeah. It's not Eberflus who's talking to Caleb Williams in that moment. It's like, as the offensive coordinator, tell him to call the timeout. I don't care. You have to overstep the head coach at this point. You're 3 points down. You've just been sacked. You're still close enough to get into field goal range with just an easy check down and have time to get up and spike it. It made no sense. And we could talk about it all day, but we're not going to because it's been washed and rinsed and repeated all week. So listen, I think another big game for me is going to be the Bucs and the Raiders. Now, I know obviously the Raiders don't have much to play for, but I think just with how close that NFC South is with the Falcons at the moment, the pressure is always going to be on the Bucs now. No matter what game they go into, whether they're 10-point favorites or 20-point favorites, it won't really matter because I think that there's so much pressure on them now that they really they need to kind of set themselves apart, or they're going to find themselves in this dogfight down the stretch.
Well, you look at that division, they are the better team out of all four. They should be walking away with this division. Now, in fairness, they've been hit with injuries. they lost both their wide receivers. Now Mike Evans is back, thankfully. But like Baker Mayfield's also carrying around like the ghost of Tom Brady past with him. You know, he did have to replace the 7-time Super Bowl champion. You know, so I mean, he has shown why he was the number one draft pick. Like him leaving the Browns, having a short stint with the Panthers, and being the heir apparent to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers has done wonders for his career. He's shown insane toughness. Like the guy is literally held together with paper clips and bubble gum at sometimes, and he's still out there and he won't come off the field, and
No.
you can see him wincing and crying and like in pain, and he's still out there slinging stuff. But yeah, they're facing the Raiders. They're facing Aiden O'Connell. You know, the Raiders have been decimated in terms of like they've really got nobody other than Brock Bowers. Now, don't get me wrong,
But after
it's Brock Bowers.
last weekend's Good Friday game, or not Good Friday, Black Friday game,
Yeah,
you know, you have to think that the Raiders are going to be again have a chip on their shoulder after that kind of misstep in the last kind of play of the game. So I really think this one's interesting. Just as you say, that Brock Bowers, like he potentially, and I think he's pretty close to being the offensive rookie of the year. Like if
oh yeah.
like just with the stats that he's putting up, just how efficient he has been. Like he is catching nearly every ball that comes to him.
Everyone pegged Marvin Harrison Jr. as the offensive rookie of the year just because of his lineage and like stuff like that. Brock Bowers come out and blown everyone out of the water. Not only is he like a pass catching machine, he's got I don't know. He's got stucco in his hands. Like he rarely ever drops a ball, and he can block, and he fights for blocks, and he's the type of Raiders tight end that they haven't seen since the 70s and the 80s. Like he's that hard nosed tight end. He'll go across the middle. He'll go through the dirty areas of the field. He'll get blown up to catch a 3 yard, get up, smile at you, throw the ball in your face. If you could get away with it, probably throw a punch because that's the Raiders' mentality. And I think Aiden O'Connell is going to come out. He is a good quarterback. I think give him time, give him like consistency. He'll go out and he'll make some plays, cause some upsets. I did see an article, someone saying that Aiden O'Connell is the only pro level quarterback in who out of all the quarterbacks coming into the draft this year, Aiden O'Connell is better than them pro level wise. I'm like, well, that's a bit of a stretch. Like you're not going to know until they hit the field, but he is a good quarterback. People don't give him the credit that like he deserves. So I think going against the Bucks, like it's Baker and Mike Evans' show. It should be them. They should go out and they should win. But as you said, after that Black Friday game, it's the Raiders. Steelers have a long rivalry with the Raiders. The Raiders hold grudges, and they'll come out scrapping to that final whistle. So I don't know. I'm not going to call it because I don't actually know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I really wouldn't want to be in the bookie's office trying to pick that one. So, look, there's a lot to look forward to this weekend. I think there's some really interesting games, a lot of implications on a lot of different conferences there. So, you know, I'm looking forward to another couple of games. Rams and Bills. Obviously, Bills have their conference wrapped up now in the AFC North or AFC North, yeah, or AFC East. I'm sorry. That's obviously brilliant for them, but it's been a pretty weak conference as far as their situation goes. But now they kind of have to look forward to being the one seed and trying to hold on to that home field advantage. So that's going to be an interesting game. Then obviously Chiefs and Chargers, massive game there. But again, Chiefs haven't wrapped their kind of at least playoff situation that wrapped up. So two big games there, and you know I'm gonna go with the Rams against the Bills just because I think that the Rams have a bit more to play for right now.
Is it in Buffalo? Is it?
It's in LA actually,
Okay. Mm,
and then the Chiefs and Chargers, which is going to be in Arrowhead. So
I'm going to give it to the Chargers over the Chiefs. The Chiefs are long overdue another loss. I'm going to give it to the Chargers. Chargers are like clinging on to the AFC like playoff picture,
yeah,
and Herbert is finally looking like he's not hurt or is hurt as much. So I think they'll go in and they'll cause an upset in Arrowhead. No matter how much Black Magic Taylor Swift casts on the field, I think Herbert's going to pull that one right. And I think the Bills are going to they're going to go out and they're going to. I wouldn't say they're going to blow away the Rams, but I think they're going to beat them by at least a touchdown because
No,
they've got that division wrapped up. Now they're playing for that seeding, and if they like Josh Allen needs to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. He needs it like more than oxygen. He needs to beat it, and he knows deep down the best way to do that is to make Kansas City come to Buffalo in the snow to face him.
Yeah, I mean, look, there can be very cold games in January and February in Arrowhead. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think no matter what, the Chiefs will be ready for whatever situation they're put into. And I just kind of have to look at this last kind of stretch down the stretch here now. Like, at what point do the Bills kind of say, all right, we got to start not benching some of our starters, but start to kind of reel back in and make sure we have our best foot forward come playoffs time, because you don't want to risk it at this point. But we're still 4 games away from the end of the season.
So I don't know whether it's controversial or not, but I'm not a fan of sitting starters. Doesn't matter whether it's week 17 and you're like number 1 seed or whatever. I'm not a fan of risking starters. The saying is Super Bowl or bust. You literally, if your players have to be busted up to get to that Super Bowl to lift that Lombardi, you do it. I think resting players, even the most elite players, has an issue with chemistry. It's like, especially your 1 seed, like you could have 1-2 games.
You also miss, if you're the 1 seed, you also miss that week as well. Like after, or like obviously for the wildcard games, you have a week off. So it's like you potentially could go week 17 no game as a starter, then wildcard weekend no game, and then play. So that could be 3 weeks before you play a game.
Yeah, and I feel like I know some people are like rest the starters just in case. I'm like, okay, like yes, just in case, but again, do you want like Lamar Jackson's like playoff record? It's terrible.
Yeah,
because the Ravens usually, because they're that good, usually have a week, possibly 2 off. And I don't know what it is. He just loses his ability to play. He gets rusty, and I've never been. I felt like I say it all the time. The Steelers come off a bye week in the regular season. They play absolutely dog shit. Don't know what it is. So if I'm a head coach and I'm looking to push for a Super Bowl, I don't care if it's the Bills and we've got the 1 seed wrapped up, and I think it's the Jets or the Patriots, whatever, the last week, or it's some garbage team that you're going to walk over.
Go and blow them out.
When you put up 50, you put up 60, you go out there and you go, we're red hot.
Get some confidence.
Down for a week.
Yeah, 100%.
Max, and then we're going to go in and want to roll over the next team as well. Because I think sitting them, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot to think about there. And so, look, I mean, that's the games for this week. There's definitely a lot of, like I said, a lot of implications. But, the Jets watch party is going to be on down in Buskers on the Ball here this weekend, and Gaelic Gridiron will be there. So keep an eye out for us if you're listening, and if you're going to be down there, definitely come and say hello. For tonight, Twist, thank you for jumping on here. I will see you next week, and we'll be back with the main man himself, Jimmy English.
Have a good one. Here we go.
Peace out.